I never thought I would hear those words at my father's funeral. My brother, standing there among all our family looking me straight in the eye, said, "You're just here for Dad's money." I froze. For a moment, everything felt unreal. The flowers, the quiet murmurs, even the grief in the room seemed to fade. His words weren't just cruel. They cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. I could see the shock on everyone else's faces, a mixture of confusion and disbelief. I wanted to defend myself, to explain, but no words came out. And then, just when I thought the day couldn't get any worse, the lawyer cleared his throat and began reading the will. What came next would silence the entire room, including my brother, and change everything we thought we knew about Dad, family, and what really mattered. Growing up, my family was complicated. Dad wasn't cold, but he wasn't exactly warm either. He had a way of showing love that was quiet, subtle, sometimes almost invisible. I always felt like I had to earn his attention, and when I did, it meant the world to me. My brother, on the other hand, seemed to expect everything without effort. He was smart, charming, and Dad always seemed to forgive him even when he messed up. From a young age, there was this unspoken tension between us. I tried to stay out of his way to avoid fights, but it never really worked. He was competitive, resentful, and sometimes envious. Small things would set him off. My grades, my achievements, even the way Dad would smile at me during a conversation. Money was never a huge focus in our home, but it became a quiet shadow over us as we got older. We weren't poor, but every decision, every inheritance talk, always seemed to stir up something deeper. Dad's favorites, Dad's approval, it mattered more than money itself. I think that's why my brother's accusations stung so much. It wasn't just about money. It was about everything he had been holding on to for years. Jealousy, rivalry, and this idea that I didn't deserve what Dad had given me or would give me. That day at the funeral, all of it came rushing back. Looking back, I can see how my brother's jealousy had been growing for years, quietly, almost invisibly, until it exploded that day at Dad's funeral. It wasn't just one thing, it was a pattern. Every achievement I had, every small success, seemed to bother him more than it should. When I got a promotion, he complained about how unfair life was. When Dad praised me for something I did, he would roll his eyes or mutter under his breath. Even as kids, I remember the way he would compete with me over grades, over recognition, over attention. Sometimes it was subtle, a remark here or there. Sometimes it was cruel, sabotaging projects or spreading rumors to make me look bad. And Dad, without realizing it, often defended him, thinking he was protecting his son from being judged too harshly. I tried to ignore it, tried to brush it off as sibling rivalry, but it left a mark. The resentment grew quietly under the surface, until it became a lens through which he saw everything I did. That lens turned everything I achieved, everything Dad loved about me, into a threat in his eyes. By the time Dad passed away, that jealousy had reached a boiling point. Every word, every look, every accusation he made at the funeral wasn't just anger. It was years of envy finally spilling out for everyone to see. The funeral hall was quiet, filled with the soft hum of grieving family and friends. I thought the hardest part would be saying goodbye to Dad, but I was wrong. It wasn't grief that hit me first, it was my brother. He stood there, his face a mix of anger and resentment, and in front of everyone he said the words I will never forget. "You're just here for Dad's money." Time seemed to stop. The room fell silent. People glanced at each other, unsure if they had heard him correctly. I felt my heart pound, my stomach twist. I wanted to defend myself, to explain, to shout, but nothing came out. It was like someone had tied my voice in knots. Every memory of our childhood, every small slight, every moment of competition and envy, flashed before me in an instant. His accusation wasn't just cruel, it was a betrayal. And worse, it was public. I looked around the room, hoping for someone to intervene, someone to stop him, but no one did. It was just me, him, and the weight of his words. And in that heavy silence, I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about everything he had felt for years. Jealousy, anger, and a desire to see me hurt. Then, just as I braced for more confrontation, the lawyer cleared his throat. And the will changed everything. The room remained frozen after my brother's words, as if everyone was holding their breath. I could feel the weight of their eyes on me, some confused, some sympathetic, some judging. My own heart was racing, a mix of shock, anger, and hurt. Dad was gone, and suddenly all the unspoken tensions in the family seemed to surface at once. My brother, thinking he had won, stood smugly, but I could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. The accusation had landed, but at what cost? Relatives whispered quietly, exchanging nervous glances. Some tried to comfort me, patting my shoulder or giving a small, awkward smile, but no words could erase what had just happened. I wanted to scream, to tell everyone the truth, to make them understand that his jealousy had been festering for years, but the silence felt heavier than any argument. I could feel the sting of betrayal deep inside me. Not just from my brother, but from the way the room seemed to freeze, unable to respond. It was like we were all trapped in that moment, waiting for something to happen, something to break the tension. And then the lawyer stepped forward, papers in hand. The murmurs faded. The entire room leaned in. The will was about to be read, and I knew somehow that what came next would change everything. The lawyer cleared his throat and the room went silent once again. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him, on the papers in his hands, and on me, though I could barely meet their gaze. My brother straightened, a small, self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips, clearly convinced that he would come out on top. Then the lawyer began to read. The first few lines were standard, polite words about Dad's wishes, but I could feel the tension building with every sentence. And then it happened. When the part about the inheritance came, I froze. My name was mentioned first. Not just a token gift, not a small sum, but the majority of Dad's estate, everything he had worked for, everything he had built over the years. The room gasped. My brother's smirk faltered, replaced by shock and disbelief. And to my son, the lawyer continued, I leave this portion as I know he will honor the family in his own way. The words hit him like a hammer. He had expected the opposite. He had assumed the money would validate his resentment, that it would confirm his belief that I was a gold digger. But Dad's decision had turned the tables completely. I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Relief because Dad's faith in me was clear, and sorrow because I knew how much my brother had been blinded by jealousy. The silence in the room was deafening. No one spoke. No one moved. And in that moment I realized that everything we thought about fairness, loyalty, and family had just been redefined. My brother's face went pale as the words sank in. For a moment he looked like he had seen a ghost. His eyes widened, his jaw tightened, and I could see the disbelief etched on every line of his face. He had been so certain, so confident that he would be the one in control, the one who would inherit everything, the one who would have the satisfaction of proving me wrong. And now, nothing. The room was silent except for the faint rustle of papers as the lawyer continued reading, but my brother barely heard it. All he could do was stare, a storm of shock and anger brewing inside him. I could feel it radiating off him like a tangible tension that made the air heavy. He opened his mouth, perhaps to argue, to protest, but no words came. The words that had come so easily to him at the funeral. The accusations, the anger, the jealousy, had all evaporated under the weight of Dad's decision. I saw something shift in him, a mixture of regret, frustration, and even a hint of shame. I didn't feel gloating satisfaction, not really. Part of me ached, knowing that this moment, as shocking as it was the result of years of resentment and misunderstandings. He had let jealousy blind him to reality, and now he was forced to confront it. For a long time he just stood there, frozen, while everyone else absorbed the truth. I could sense the lesson hitting him hard and unavoidable. And as I watched him struggle to process what had just happened, I realized that this day had changed more than just the distribution of money. It had changed how we would see each other forever. After the initial shock settled, I found myself sitting quietly, trying to process everything. The grief of losing Dad was still there, sharp and real, but it was mingled with a strange sense of relief. Relief that the truth had come out, that Dad's wishes had been honored, and that years of jealousy and misunderstanding had finally been laid bare. I thought about my brother, and a part of me felt sorrow for him. Not anger, at least not anymore. His envy, his resentment, had clouded his judgment for so long that he couldn't see the love and trust Dad had placed in me. And yet, despite everything, I knew that this wasn't about revenge. This was about clarity, about finally understanding what truly mattered in our family. Dad had left more than just money. He had left a lesson. About fairness, about recognizing loyalty and love, and about the dangers of letting jealousy control your heart. I realized that, for years, I had measured my worth in the eyes of others, especially my brother, and that had caused me unnecessary pain. Now I felt a strange sense of freedom. I didn't have to prove anything anymore. I didn't have to compete or fight for approval. Dad had already shown me where I belonged, and in that I found peace. The funeral, the accusations, the shock of the will, It had all been painful, but it had also been a turning point. I understood finally that family isn't always what it seems and love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and revealed in the most unexpected ways. Looking back, I realized that this story isn't really about money at all. It's about trust, love, and the hidden layers of family relationships. My brother's accusation, the tension, the shock of the will. It all revealed how jealousy can blind us, even to the people we claim to love the most. Life has a way of teaching lessons in the harshest ways. Sometimes the truths we need to see are wrapped in pain and confusion. Dad's decision wasn't about favoring me over my brother. It was about recognizing who he believed would honor the family and act with integrity. That lesson became clear the moment the shock faded and the silence settled. I want anyone listening to remember this. Don't let jealousy or assumptions cloud your judgment. Don't let anger or resentment define your relationships. True value, true love, and true loyalty are not measured in money or possessions. They are measured in honesty, care, and the quiet acts that show who you really are. In the end, what Dad left behind was more than wealth. It was clarity, truth, and a reminder that sometimes the right decisions, even when unexpected, reveal the heart of a family more than anything else ever could.